read the GQ article that was written about Andrew Gillum. For those of you who may not know, Andrew Gillum is the former mayor of Tallahassee, former candidate for governor for the state of Florida. Was recently, more so last year, caught up in a scandal where he was found inebriated in a hotel, passed out with a male sex worker and another random man. About a week or two ago, GQ wrote an article on him and his wife, where they discussed. It was an article, but it was also an interview where him and his wife discussed the scandal and their life and the effect that the scandal had on their lives. First of all, I want to hear you guys' reaction to the scandal. I don't know about you guys, and I'll disclose this. I voted for Andrew Gillum, and so I just want to know, like, what's your reaction to it? About what happened?
I voted for Andrew Gillum as well. Family, hello. But my reaction was complete shock.
Were you shocked? I always thought he was a little.
Listen, that run through my mind about mostly everybody anyway. But what shocked me is the male sex worker, the drugs, the being passed out, the naked photos, the throw. It was just so many things that ran through my mind. I couldn't stomach it, honestly. I was rooting for him, and it's not even about him being with a male sex worker. Being with any sex worker would have been the same for me. But it's the being on drugs and being passed out in a hotel room. Like, are you kidding me? That's sick.
I also voted for Andrew Gillum. And I was not shocked really at any of it. It's Miami, it's South Beach. I have worked in hotels here in Miami, as y'all know, for like a long time, up until recently. So I am not shocked by anything and anybody that I see in a hotel at all. I was shocked that it, I guess, got out, and I was disappointed that it got out, but understanding who Andrew Gillum is, understanding the future that he had in politics, that is also unsurprising. It is very unsurprising. I still am of the class that he was set up, and not set up in a way that like they thought he thought he was going to meet a woman, or like he wasn't anticipating the drugs or anything like that, but set up in a way that like somebody knew that was your vice and knew that was what you was into and knew what this would do to your political career, and you walked into like a trap, pretty much. Like, and I will probably always think that, just because I know that like politically, he is what America would be interested in and would be looking for. Like, we know the way that Barack was able to kind of like, not finesse, but we know what Barack meant to America and how they allowed him as a black man to be in there because he has a black family and this is that and the third. And not saying that Andrew would have been the next Barack, but as far as like whatever politics he wanted to, would that door have been easy for him to walk through? Absolutely. And is this an easy way for them to kind of cut you off at the root? Absolutely.
My reaction to that was like, you like a little dick, you like a little dick. Like, I was more so shocked about the drugs and all of that. I'm like, that's
and I can't believe that y'all are shocked about the drugs. Like, when y'all are all from Miami, I could not believe that y'all were shocked about the drugs.
But I was more so shocked as the recklessness.
Yeah, like being passed out in your
Why are you moving so recklessly that you end up getting caught up like this? That's what I'm more so shocked of. I was expecting Andrew to be more strategic, more, just like basically more strategic and more insulated about what the fuck you doing. Like,
yeah,
like you said, he had a promising political career. I don't want to even say had, because maybe I don't know.
I don't necessarily feel like he can't come back from this. Do I feel like it's going to be harder? Absolutely. You're not a white man.
You're not white, and it wasn't like you cheated on your wife. That's more so forgivable.
Right. Yes.
You did cheat on your wife, but I'm saying you didn't cheat on her with a woman. You cheated on her with a man, and not just a regular man. It was a sex worker.
Yeah. It is not, and I even feel like for a lot of black women in a way, for us, it's like, all right, his problem is going to be, I really do feel like that, to be honest.
On multiple occasions and paid, but
I do for the simple fact that, like, for the most part, black women, when it comes to people that are going to forgive you for anything, it's usually us before anybody else.
Okay.
Even if it does come to you being bisexual or whatever, I mean, you know, people gonna say slick shit because black women can be homophobic, like whatever. So like you gotta eat that. But when it comes to whether we will forgive you first or black men, us.
Oh, for sure.
Sloppy. But I think at the same time, it's kind of one of those things that it's like, I understand what he says. Well, I was in a really dark place, and that was not on my mind. But I also kind of made this point a while ago too that like that is his privilege in being a man. That you get to be depressed and sit in that, because a lot of people did compare him to Stacey Abrams, and it's like Stacey, I'm sure, was depressed also. Stacey didn't get to like sit at home and be depressed and whine and cry, whatever. Like Andrew could have been depressed, took a year or two off from politics, nobody would have jumped right back in the ring and been right where he started. You know, so I think that this really for him was sloppy. It was sloppy, but again, that was something that somebody had to know that you were into, to know they could put you in a position to get you fucked up.
That's because you think he got set
Yeah,
up.
I really do think he got set up.
He was just wilding. He was on a bender.
Y'all think he was just wilding, and then guess what happened? That the police was like, yeah, here we gonna hand over the police report and the pictures and everything else to whatever.
Yeah.
Really?
Because he had met up with this man prior to on multiple
Oh,
occasions.
you read in the article. That wasn't their first time meeting up.
They met on Grindr.
They met on Grindr.
So
I really, truly, honestly, somebody was like, "Yo, we know how to get that nigga. Don't worry."
I really think so. He had already lost the fucking election.
But when you think about where his future, what is better than this? What could be better than like you being a fucking pill popping, druggy, bisexual, and we can actually get pictures of that shit?
No, I feel like he had already lost the election. There was nothing else that they needed to do to him.
Really?
So it's like, yes, what else?
I feel like this kind of like,
And it wasn't like an election or anything substantial was coming up that Andrew could run for. Andrew Gillum, you just ran for governor. He not gonna run for no state senator or no motherfucking councilman or mayor again. He wants something big, and nothing big was coming up anytime soon. So there was no reason to sabotage Andrew Gillum. Andrew Gillum, in my opinion, was just in his feelings, depressed. I get it. You lost a major election. It's your life work, blah, blah, blah. He was depressed. This nigga drinking crazy, wilding out. You was wilding out so much, you slipped up and you got caught up and you was being sloppy, and this is the consequence of your actions.
I don't believe it. I got my tinfoil hat on this one. I got my Cyrus Bean hat on for this one. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. I do not trust it. I feel like this was the perfect fucking scandal to make sure that your ass never has a fucking political career again.
Also in the article, it mentioned how Andrew Gillum, this is the only politician that this happened to. It mentioned she's a white woman.
Katie Hall.
Katie Hall. She was caught in another in a compromising situation with her female staffer, and she lost her. She had to step down from. She was in Congress. She had to step down out of Congress because that became a scandal. Bisexual, but you are married with a husband, the conflict that comes with. So, I mean, Katie, why did they set Katie up to?
What's Katie?
Did they set Katie
What's
up
Katie's
to?
party?
No,
What's Katie's party?
I don't know.
I just don't
I don't trust them either.
I just don't trust the government, and I just feel like Andrew could have possibly been bisexual or whatever the fuck for how many ever years. It's not like we don't know people that went to school with Andrew, or we don't know people that haven't been around Andrew, whatever. But you mean to tell me this one compromising ass situation, as many niggas that came to Miami, South Beach and got caught up, and we almost never hear about it. We didn't just hear about it, we got pictures.
Probably the police officer that found it is MAGA.
I wouldn't be surprised, but what I'm saying is like I feel like
Because
it was
who
a perfect
leaked
storm.
it? Candace Owens.
It was the perfect storm of him meeting up with this sex worker that he's already met up with before. There's another man into it, which we don't even know where the fuck his
No,
ass
he was the next. He was the next
client.
client. He was the next client.
Then they both were passed out on
And he called the police. Well, you gotta read the article.
Shut the fuck
But
up.
yes, so it wasn't like it was a threesome. No, he discovered them passed out, called the police, and that's how it went from there.
I don't trust it.
You don't believe it?
I don't believe it. I don't
Okay,
believe
sis,
it.
I'm not here to change your mind. We here to discuss Andrew.
I think that somebody knew his vices, which with a man, he has one. It's either gonna be men, women, drugs, whatever. And I think that he walked into an easy place.
So Andrew's vice being bisexual, if you want to call that a vice,
And I really think the drugs more so than the bisexuality.
is his vice.
Yeah.
Bisexuality is just who he is. I wouldn't
Right.
call that a vice.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why I said quotation.
Now, I will say that
it can be viewed as a vice.
I will say that but that's not necessarily him being bisexual, but having reckless sexual behavior, like outside of like your marriage or your relationship, I would definitely call it a vice.
Okay, I can see that. That's
Whether it
valid.
was a nigga he met on Grindr or a bitch he met on Hinge, like it ain't your wife.
That's valid. But where I was going with it was, could you date a man whose vice, quote unquote, that's why I didn't want to categorize bisexuality as a vice. Could you date? It's for all of you guys. Could you date a man who was bisexual?
Absolutely not.
It was like a straight on, like
Elaborate for us, sister.
I don't want a man that's been with other men. I'm not about to play your duty shoot. You're not about to play mine. So it's just not. I just don't want to date a man that's been with other men. Like that's just because I don't have to. So I'm not gonna do it.
I am not completely opposed to dating a bisexual man. If I so happen to run into a man that I like and he happens to be bisexual, I'm just not gonna write him off just for that reason alone.
Now, you had to remind me that apparently on an earlier show, I said I wouldn't, and I still have to go back and watch the show because I don't remember that.
You mentioned it when
I
we were
mentioned it.
discussing Molly and Jared, all our insecurity.
But I'm pretty sure I said that I would
And
give
you-
Jared
you
another
know,
goddamn
you were like-
chance
you were like, I
because
want
Jared is
Molly.
fine and Molly ain't got no man. I'm
You
pretty sure
said
that was my feelings on it.
You was on Molly's side. I know.
But again, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna watch it. But as of now, as of February 23rd, 2021, like I'm not opposed to dating a bisexual man for the simple fact I could have probably dated one already and I wouldn't goddamn know. So like I really, as long as I guess you present like your full self or like the self that I am comfortable with, I don't really care.
You get it. I could date that.
So you?
I mean, obviously, I would
Yeah.
date a bisexual man. Like that's not like.
Yeah.
The people want to know.
The people want to know.
You're right. You're right. People, I will. I'm not opposed to it. Yeah, I don't even have no restrictions on it, like because
I would actually prefer that you don't necessarily hook up with random sex workers.
I would prefer that
and not be in a hotel
I prefer for the heterosexual man
perked up. Yes,
So-
that's what I'm saying. Like across the board, I would prefer.
So you know, I have my standards
Right.
regardless of how you should behave sexually and what you should be engaging in
Right.
and all that. That's a given. Don't be
Yeah.
out here fucking like I don't want you. Not no disrespect to sex workers as well, but
Not even that. I mean, it's fine, whatever. But at least my thing is be decent about it, right? Be decent, be safe, use a condom. Don't be so passed out or inebriated that you have no idea what you're doing. People are finding you.
But according to Andrew's story, he said that he didn't know that he was drugged. He didn't go there to take any drugs.
but
He
according to
didn't-
Andrew's story,
Hold
okay,
on, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
This is what he said, so I'm gonna take it from his
What he
perspective.
said, right?
If he didn't know that he was drugged, and being that this, is your husband or somebody that you're dating, I still would look at it from a sense of, why is it that you have to pay someone to have sex with you? Why is it that you have to go into a hotel room with someone who you don't know, who you met off an app off of one night? And that would be something that's like
So you
more
would,
jarring to me.
you would prefer that your partner met someone like at a club or like met them.
I'm personally not into one night stands. I haven't ever had a one night stand. That's just something I have not. That's just not something I'm into. I'm more into people building a connection, getting to know someone. That, like, courting someone, that's the type of things, you know, whatever. But like as far as a one night stand, I haven't ever dated. I don't want somebody who is just down to meet somebody that they've never seen before, don't know from a campaign, never even had a conversation with, and just bone them because you think they look good. I don't base being sexual off of how people look. But
I kind of don't mind being bald because I look good, but I understand. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. You don't know what people are capable of.
I'm kind of not taking, like, y'all giving Andrew a lot. And I'm just not here for it because, like, I'm not taking everything that Andrew says at his word, because Andrew and his wife were, like, in the article, Andrew and his wife were open to the interview, right? They did the interview, they were candid. The interviewer said that he was, when they asked certain questions, like, he was very deliberate in his speech. He had slowed down and stated things as if he had practiced it.
Well, he's the politician.
I don't believe him.
No, exactly. Wait, let me get to what I'm about to say. And then once the interviewer interviewed the sex worker and got the sex worker side of the story, and then the interviewer was going to go do the follow-up interview with Andrew and his wife. Andrew and his wife declined once they knew that he interviewed the sex worker. So it's like,
It was a PR cleanup.
it was a cleanup. It wasn't meant to provide no truth or anything like that. And I get it. You know, as someone who used to work in politics, I get it. That's what you're supposed to do. So, and as someone that know what you're supposed to do, you ain't gonna always be telling the truth. I don't believe you ain't know that you was
I'm
not
just
drugged.
playing devil's advocate. I'm just trying to look at it from both sides.
Wildin'.
I don't believe it.
I definitely think he went there for a party.
Yeah,
Period.
for sure.
Which, and it's like cool. And then my thing is like, if partying and playing is your thing, again, cool. But I feel like if we want to have certain careers, we want to do certain things, we have to make certain sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
You are not in a position to be partying and playing, nigga.
Recklessly.
Anyway, like whatever. 'Cause I'm sure a lot of politicians do. Just for it is not.
Do you think that he has a future in politics still?
Yeah.
You think y'all think he can come back?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so. The way that things are going now, exactly. It is definitely more so okay. It's not as shamed upon, and I think because when it comes down to it, the drugs is a nasty part of it, right? And like the arrest is not the best part of it. Like, okay, fine, or whatever happened that the police had to come. But if the only vice is that you cheated on your wife, niggas cheat on their wife every goddamn day. And so then it comes down to, okay, it's the problem that you cheated on your wife with a man. And then what does it say about how far our politics as a country have progressed, that whether you cheated on your wife with a man or a woman, that is the hold up.
That's going to be the job of his campaign manager
Right.
to spin
I
that.
was just
Because
gonna say that.
this country is not as progressive. Exactly.
I'm always looking for a job. I'm always looking for a
Because
job.
honestly, yes, it can be definite. That is definitely a spin. That can definitely be sold to the people. But it's going to take a hell of a job from a campaign manager in his campaign, because this country is not as progressive as we are on this panel.
No.
Okay, so, and especially for Andrew, he's not going to be running for anything in these, well, I don't know, because he's originally made from Tallahassee.
He might have to start off small.
You gotta go to a small city or something, but like these small red cities, and going for very red, very conservative, very Republican, very white, they're not going for nobody. You black, first of all, strike one. Bisexual, strike two. You be on drugs, strike. So I think that it's possible with the good work, good political work, good public relations work, good spins and all that. I think anything is possible. Anything could come back. But it's going to be a journey for Andrew Gillum to get back into a prominent political role.
I'm not counting it out.
I'm not counting it out. Because like I said, and I would love to see it. I'm going to enjoy watching this
I just
spin.
say take a few years.
Yeah.
Take a few years.
Go on some media tours.
Hello. And as soon as he get out there and let people, I feel like once he gets out there and people are like, oh yeah, you know, he's bisexual, he's been to rehab, so he has that on his belt. He's clean, he's reformed, he's whatever. But when it comes down to the bisexuality, at this point, people are moving. The country is not as progressive, but the media is. The media likes to portray that they are. So once he goes out there and let them know, yeah, I'm bisexual, I'm standing in my truth. He has people following him. He has the LGBTQ community, whatever, behind him. I feel like it's going to take a few years. It's going to take some time. But once he gets out there, he lets them know he has allies. These people are with him in private or in public, whatever.
And his wife is still sticking by him. And I feel like that is probably going to be the biggest benefit that he has. Like, we already know that being a man in politics, you need to be married.
Facts.
Regardless of who you are, what you bring, whatever. And his wife obviously is going to be able to get black women more on his side.
Absolutely.
Again, a lot of bitches gonna look at her like, bitch, you dumb. Like, absolutely not. I ain't dating no bisexual man. Like, that is gonna be the feeling from a lot of people. But then it's gonna come down to, you want this nigga or you want Trump Jr. over here. And at the end of the day, black women gonna be like, well, we going.
He might be a little gay.
Yeah, exactly. literally, I can literally hear my mama like, yeah, you know, he a little gay, but that ain't got nothing to do with his work. Cool beans. So that's what.
Would y'all vote for Andrew Gillum if he ran again?
Yeah. Where I'm at politically now today, probably not, but it's because of like his affiliation with the Democratic Party and their involvement, less about him and his antics.
Okay, that's a nice segue. Would you vote for Andrew Gillum?
I mean, I can't vote for him, but if I was, so I probably would. I mean, I ain't really pay attention to him, but I don't live. So they not giving me a lot. I don't know.
She lives in Texas.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's
where you
I don't know his policy, so I mean, I didn't pay attention to you. I'm sorry.
It depended on, like Robin said, it would depend on Andrew's policies. But from what he was when he was running, he was very progressive. Still a Democrat, but very progressive nonetheless. And so, you know,
Yeah.
possibly, I would vote for him based on his policies. I would not vote for him based on the scandal.
There you go.
So,
Absolutely.
but I like that comment that you made about the Democratic Party and how you would not align yourself politically with your votes based on that, because that leads us to our next and final topic of the election of Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden. Woo! No, woo. Okay, so as people, I mean, that election is very fucking recent and very fucking relevant to our everyday lives. How do you guys feel about the election of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, not only as citizens, but as black women? Kamala, what does she represent for you? I mean, we had this conversation kind of prior in regards to Rihanna and Beyonce. I mean, but this is a different lane. This is more so politics rather than entertainment. So that's a loaded question. So
It is, because politics these days in America is very much entertainment.
Right.
oh, I like that. So whoever wants to go ahead and jump in with your perspective, go ahead and do that.
So I did vote for Joe and Kamala or whatever, but it was like a last minute, like I voted like the last hour of election day. And only because like Trump did really have to go. Like that was kind of like the bottom line of what it came down to for me. But fuck Joe. And honestly, my vote could have went somewhere else, and I don't feel like it would have really made a difference. It obviously wasn't going for Trump because I'm not a fucking asshat. But I'm trying to think, like, where we are now as adults and where we continue to grow as Americans, as a society, as black Americans, I don't think that it's good enough for us to just vote for the niggas that are not Republicans or the not Trumps or the not whatever, because at the same time, when we look at a lot of the Democrats and their policies and the things that they have done or not done, they mirror that, but they do it with a smile or they do it with a heart emoji and like, oh, this is wrong, sad face. But like, you know, I think what Trump was a manifest. He was a scapegoat, right? And he was an easy way for people to say this is why Republicans like Trump and the Republican Party and what he represents, this is why we can't get things done as a country. Cool. Now, Americans saw that and went out in full force, voted for Joe and Kamala, voted for a Democratic House, Democratic Senate, whatever, and here we are
33 days.
a month after inauguration, and I ain't got no stimulus. Niggas in Texas ain't got no lights. Niggas is dead.
Kids still in cages.
Kids are not only still in cages. A new facility was opened up with cages today. Haiti's currently being taken over by like a dictator.
Minimum wage is still not $15.
Minimum wage is still not $15.
Student loan debt has still not been canceled.
Student loan debt has still not been canceled. And
what else did Joe promise?
He's trying to reopen schools, which is.
He said he was gonna have a handle on the pandemic. He was gonna have a plan.
We still ain't got no vaccies. So, and I think like the Democrats, like a lot of people that are Democrats or like back in the party or supporting the party are just like, oh, it's only been a month. You can't expect them to turn things around. I really can when Trump turned shit sideways like a weekend. Trump was doing all type of shit.
I mean, I would just piggyback off everything that she said, honestly. I voted for Joe Biden.
But the main cause was just to get Trump out of office.
And that's a problem within itself. So I'll pick it up from right there. And I feel like that is something that I don't want to speak for all Americans because all Americans don't relate to me. More so importantly, Black Americans. So we as Black Americans, even so much as Americans, Black Americans have to do better with voting for the lesser of two evils. Because I feel like that leads us to the same conundrum that we've been dealing with for decades since we've been allowed to vote. We're voting for the lesser of two evils. Like, yeah, we had to get Trump out to get Biden in, but as we just stated, what has Biden done that was so much different from what Trump did? Or what's so different from Joe Biden's policies that's very much different from Donald Trump's? The only difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump is that Donald Trump lacks class and he lacks tact. Joe Biden is also, now he's old, he's delusional. He says things like, I watched clips of his town hall meeting that he most recently had, and he was talking about vaccination, saying that Black people don't know how to get in line for the vaccine. Like, Joe Biden says a lot of the same shit that Donald Trump says, but he just says it in a different way. Donald Trump is he's just tacky. Well, obviously, we know that Joe Biden he was a manufactured pig. He was doing the least, as far as polling, he was polling in last place for the Democratic nominee. He was not even a viable candidate. His mental capacity was even being questioned during the primaries. So we know that the person who was the front runner or someone who could have been a president with different policies, a different outlook, a different perspective, though still in the Democratic Party, though they still might not have been a progressive candidate, but way more liberal than someone that Joe Biden is.
I don't feel like that person would have beat Trump though. Whoever the pick would have been, had it been, I'm trying to think who was leading the poll, so it would have been like Bernie, probably, what's her face? Elizabeth, because I voted for Elizabeth actually in the primaries. I don't feel like any of those progressive, even Kamala or whatever, when she was running, like I don't feel like any of those people had had they been the nominee, none of them would have been able to beat Trump, and I don't think that America would have survived another 4 years under Trump.
They're too liberal.
I feel like that is why Joe became the manufactured pick, because it's like, all right, we do need somebody to get Trump the fuck out of here because this country we were going to shit.
Yeah, you can say it was a strategic vote, but what is the fucking strategy? We're getting the same, my argument to that is we're literally getting the same things that Trump was doing. Biden has changed nothing, and he doesn't really plan on changing anything. He literally said nothing will fundamentally change from anything that we experienced under Donald Trump. So my thing is like, what was the compromise? What did we get? well, those of you that voted for Joe Biden, what did you get out of it? And those of you, especially black people who pestered other black people to vote for Joe Biden, what did you get out of it? Well, what do you plan to get out of it? What do you hope to get out of it?
Yeah, I talked to our grandmothers and mothers probably who pestered because we just did it.
I got the pop champagne on like the day when they announced it. That was about it.
Yeah, like.
And I think you kind of have to know as a progressive voter, as somebody that is in favor of more progressive policies, that is kind of breaking away of this always vote blue no matter what type of machine. Like the people that you are in favor, Fannie, Kwame, like these people, they were the minority. They were very much the minority. Like the majority was fine with MLK speeches up until the end of like not going to war and like things like that or whatever. Like,
Fanny, bro.
You know.
Okay, so what about the younger black people? Because the little motherfuckers was out pestering us. Well, I didn't say. That's not to say I didn't vote, because I did vote. I just didn't vote for Joe Biden. That's just to say like, and even though I did vote, I didn't look down on those who decided to not vote. Those who chose to abstain from voting.
Yeah.
So my question is like, not voting is disrespectful to our ancestors who fought for our right to vote. How do you guys feel about that statement?
I think that the younger generations, as I said earlier, reading is fundamental, and they need to read what it is that our ancestors were fighting for. Fighting for our right to vote was not to force us to vote. It was for us to have the rights that were like enabled to us. So I have the freedom, I have the choice to speak for myself. And voting means that I have the right to vote in favor of policies that benefit me. If I only ever listened to my parents or like whoever, I would have been a fucking bootlicking ass Democrat. I always gotta vote blue and the Democrats know what's best type of bitch. And hell no.
I'm registered as independent. So for a while I was able to cultivate my own thoughts, luckily outside of my upbringing, because like she said, bootlicking blue Democrat. And I got a lot of pushback and a lot of talking tos and sitting downs for even being independent. So it's like, I totally agree with what she is saying, but I don't feel like it's a disrespect that they don't vote. I just feel like they should take the liberty to educate themselves and just kind of grasp the concept of what the voting is for. Not just, oh, I'm not going to vote just because my vote doesn't matter type shit. Like that bothers me a lot.
Because that's ignorant.
Yeah.
And I come from a household where immigrants and my parents take voting to the next extreme. And I told my dad, like, I'm not voting, but I did vote. It's just like, how you not gonna vote? I came to this country to give you a vote. We laughed. Like, you're not even here. But it's just like, don't just vote to vote. Vote for, know what you're voting for, and don't just vote because, oh, your parents are voting blue, you gotta vote blue. Educate yourself, read up on things, read up on policies, because you are gonna be voting for your oppressors. So it's a different battle. When I talk to my dad is like a brain. So like, even though he's not physically here in America and stuff like that, he's very immersed into politics. So he's very much so like, you gotta do that, you have to, because we came to give you this life. And it's just like, I mean, y'all could stay in Nigeria to be quite honest with you. Like, life is pretty lit, you know? But yeah, just know what you're voting for, know what your politicians, your policies, even like locally, because that's what affects you more. So yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on also, representative politics. Just because someone is black and they hold a prestigious job title or they hold a high office position, that doesn't necessarily mean progress, because what material changes are being provided based on that position that they have. What?
No, it just takes me back to the black women, the
Rihanna and Beyonce.
Yeah,
it kind of plays into both, like I said, but you know, one's entertainment, one's politics. I mean, even though they kind of like Robin said, they one and the same, essentially. What effect did Kamala Harris being elected as VP have on you?
It ain't had no effect on me. Maybe for little girls that want to grow up and be politicians, but for me, no. Lock them up. I mean, no, like, it just didn't have no effect on me. Like, is it dope to see a black woman, a woman of color, in that office? For sure, but it didn't have no effect on me.
And that's another thing. Kamala, just like Barack, is half white.
Mm-hmm. Like,
Well, she's not half white.
What she is?
Indian.
She's
Jamaican.
Indian and she's Jamaican.
Not wholly black.
She's not wholly black, but
But not half white.
Indian isn't white. She would technically be
okay.
Asian.
Right, okay, that's what I was gonna say. They're not full black.
No.
If y'all elect like a dark-skinned black woman in office, hello.
Maybe it'll
You might have to go up. You might have to go up.
For sure. And if
She's
she's giving very 1% drop, I don't know. I just wasn't moved.
I was very sad, I think, to learn about Kamala's dad's politics. Kamala, I hate Kamala. Kamala, sorry. Kamala's. To learn about how her dad is like this, like Marxist, like very revolutionary, very like aware of the American system, and to see your daughter kind of completely.
That's what I'm scared of.
You know, she went to Howard. You know, and Howard is going to take that as like, you know, she made a revolutionary, or she made like some type of it was an intentional decision for her to go to a black higher institution of education, and I actually do respect her for that, like in a lot of ways. But that's literally to me where it kind of starts, stops, and ends, because we know a lot of queens that went to HBCUs.
Absolutely.
So it's like it's not enough for you to be in those spaces if what you're doing in those spaces is bullshit.
From my perspective, being happy for Kamala. Okay. Being happy for Kamala Harris being elected as VP, in my eyes, would be the equivalent of being happy that Colin Powell was Secretary of State. Or Condoleezza Rice. What was Condoleezza Rice? Whatever she was. I don't even remember what was her title. But that was
She was in Congress. I don't know what she was doing, but.
And she worked under Bush as well.
Yes.
So it's like, that's the thing, like black faces in high places, but these black faces don't necessarily, absolutely don't represent my politics, absolutely don't represent a positive politics or a positive material change for the condition of black people nationwide. So it's like, what am I celebrating? Like, and I don't mean to I'm not throwing my mom under the bus. My mom was ecstatic that Kamala Harris was elected as vice president. She had on her blazer, she had on her chucks. She even...
I don't know. For me, it goes back to the same thing we said earlier about Rihanna and Beyonce. Like, your individual achievements and what it means for you and your family and who you are and who you want to be doesn't necessarily speak to the entirety of the benefit and the good of black people.
And that's not to say that I'm downplaying Kamala's rise to the top or her grind or whatever it is that she's had to do to get to that spot, because I know being as a woman of color, not necessarily a black woman, but maybe black to some people.
Black adjacent. Blackish.
I like that.
Spicy one.
Yeah. Being someone of a minority identity, I know that your rise and your success was not easy. So me saying that I'm not really like moved by it, that's not saying I'm downplaying it or I don't recognize the drive, the ambition and everything, the hard work, the long nights. I know what it took to get there. I know it wasn't an easy road or whatever, but in the grand scheme, I don't see Kamala as VP as a success for black people.
No. I think Trump really did kind of like galvanize a lot of people in a way that we hadn't seen in a very long time. And especially like black people, because like for once people were kind of listening to us, number one, and agreeing with us for once. Number two, like we can't have like super racist in house, and then it's like the second that people got back comfortable, because Joe and Kamala were the comfortable choices, it was like, yeah, all right. All the work from the summer about defunding and abolishing the police and like all these things that we were working, it felt like we were working towards
It's
real
like it almost
revolution.
didn't happen.
It's like it almost did not happen. And now here we are, like a month again after inauguration for what? And even when we talk about the inauguration, like we sitting up here, like all we can talk about is their outfits people hair and like
Jennifer
nothing
Lopez.
and Jennifer Lopez. Nothing of substance, nothing that means anything about anything or whatever. And so I think that hopefully people don't use this moment to get comfortable the way that they did with Barack. I doubt. I think that they will. Like, I doubt any real change will happen. But I hope that people can
You
kind
can't have
of.
that outlook. No, you have to be optimistic.
Yeah.
You have to remain hopeful.
Yeah,
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
I don't know.
So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to my lovely hosts for joining me. Stay tuned with the brand. We have more shows, more clothes, more movies in production. Log on to TheBlvkSheep.com website. Cop whatever merchandise is available. Add it to your cart. Get fly with me. 2021, we going up. We going big. Stay tuned.